really set that time aside for yourself.
Hmm. Like you
And it
mentioned,
takes practice. Yeah.
befriend
And
yourself. And I think,
befriend
sorry,
yourself.
I started to cut you
Mhm.
off, but I think that's exactly what I'm going to name this episode. Befriend yourself.
Befriend
Because
yourself. Befriend yourself.
there
I
goes the
want to do a
song
theme
now.
song.
Make sure to put that one in the beginning.
Oh, that's great.
Look, hell of an intro. I tell you what you info, but I never really been the type of dude to give no info.
Welcome to the Walking Girl Show, everyone. It's Ronnie and Court on the mic, and I said that specifically because you'll understand a little bit later because we have a special guest. And Courtney, if you don't mind, well, Court, if you don't mind introducing, it's gonna be a little bit tricky to do this, right? It's the first time for everything. But Court, if you don't mind
Yes.
introducing our guest, so everyone understands why I am calling you Court today.
Yes. I'm going to start by apologizing and hoping, crossing my fingers, that my voice stays at least a voice throughout the whole episode. So just starting, I am not excited to hear myself back on this
Oh,
episode,
you'll
but
be
that's
just
okay.
fine.
As long as I can talk, as long as my words come out, because it's questionable.
It's
But
already
anyway,
happening. It's a beautiful thing.
I know it's already here. We're just going to roll with the punches. But yeah, I am so excited already. Ronnie already had to stop us because we were already having such good conversation. So I'm so excited for today. But this is, and this is actually very unique because of our experience that we have. But this is my very dear friend Courtney, which is why one of us has to be Court, one of us has to be Courtney today. But I had the absolute pleasure of going to high school with Courtney, but also going to college with
Really?
her, which is very, unique, especially because we both went to school out of state. So, yeah, so we got to play sports together. But I think we grew up pretty closely in high school just because of our hobbies and the things that we were involved in. We were just talking about how growing up, as we know, we talked to Biko from Saugerties. Growing up in a small town, everybody kind of knows each other. So we were just talking about how our families know each other and always get excited. My mom always calls me and is like, I saw Mama Greth, or I saw whoever
I
it
saw
was.
Courtney's
And,
grandpa again.
yeah, exactly. So it's just really exciting. I know I mentioned this on Darian's episode, but just kind of that spirit and energy that people bring to a space. And this is another person. Courtney just has such a contagious and exciting spirit about her that, like, I don't even care what we talk about today. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a good time. And it's going to be exciting and just kind of leave you smiling regardless of what the topic is. So excited, Courtney, that you're
Oh,
here.
I'm so
Thank you for
tickled,
being here with us.
really and truly. To see your name pop up and to be invited on, I was like, okay, this is a great spot to just formally catch up generally and to get reacquainted with your Courtney adult self and Ronnie, just to know you in general.
Yep,
You guys are just a couple of stars out here on the
Oh,
microphone.
stop
I
it.
will not. I
Oh,
will
stop.
No, you guys, even from the few episodes that I've listened to, I love how casual and comfortable you are, and that I'm sure just speaks to your friendship and your own friendly relationship on here and outside of here. So, jazzed to be formally / casually friends with y'all for an hour and forever. So, hooray!
Yes.
This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning to what's to come. And this is including everybody else. If you guys want to partake, just reach out to us. Let us know. We, want to be on it, and we'll be more than happy to have you on. Again, there's really no script here. We're here to have a good time, get to know each other, and at the same time, learn a little bit more about what's going on in the world, whether it's in my world, Court's world, or Courtney's world. So this is giving you the opportunity to really get a feel of what's going on and how to diversify and grow your relationship. So, I mean, with all that being said, Courtney, if you don't mind, I really want to go back to, just what is it that you particularly do? Let's start there.
Yes, I'll give you the bird's eye view and then we can dive into some specifics. So,
Okay.
I am a massage therapist. I'm a Reiki practitioner and I'm also trained as a birth and death doula. So, I've had my private practice in Denver, Colorado for almost 5 years now. It's called Recenter Therapeutic Massage, and I primarily work with people one on one giving massage therapy sessions. and helping people just feel more at home in their bodies and just more connected to themselves physically and beyond the physical too. That's what drew me into massage therapy and body work in the first place, was not just the physical relief that I got, but more so emotional, mental, spiritual, ethereal, all the different categories, where it was like, wow, this is medicine here. And it's a bit alternative. And I have a rebel heart. So I love the alternative world of just healing in general and doing something a little different that's not as mainstream. Grateful that it is becoming more mainstream because people are taking it, or at least in my community here in Denver, people take very good care of their bodies and their minds, and they're always wanting to learn more, grow more, walk and grow. People are walking and growing here as well, and it is a plus. Yeah. So bird's eye view, that's what I have going on in my life for my work. But as for fun, I love to spend a lot of time with my needle and thread. So I love to do old lady crafts like cross stitching because because that just slows everything down and gets me into the present moment. And I'm always craving more of that, living in this society that's just all about productivity and growth and money and capitalism. It's scary sometimes. So just to ground,
Literally.
back down. Yeah. So just to ground back down, return to the body. That's I hope to reflect that in my work with Recenter. But I need me too. People need support out there, but I'm really learning hardcore these days. Like, I need me too. So love to slow all the way down, do my old lady crafts, pick up a book, and meditate and breathe and just look up and just look around and just receive the world instead of just going after it and just being a go-getter. I feel like I've been a go-getter. I mean, Court, you know this too. Like, of just that go-getter attitude. Like, we just get out there and take care of business.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing.
Definitely.
But restoring the balance, that's what I'm about these days.
Said a key word
Ronnie
there.
loves that
I
word.
love it.
I love
it. Balance.
We love balance. It's so important because it's so evident when we get off balance, because we feel on edge, we get in pain, we just get angsty, the anxiety and depression sets in, and no thank you. It's tough it's tough because you get to a point where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So if anybody's listening to this and you're in Colorado, specifically Denver, you better go check out Courtney's facility. I will make sure. She will report back to us. Don't get us twisted now. So go check her out. Go support there. I did want to touch upon something you said. You said you have a rebel heart. What does that mean?
Oh, goodness. Well, I've always grown up thinking I was the black sheep of my family. Now I know that's not true. I'm just me. Everyone else in my family line is just them. But I grew up feeling just very different from people. Way more emotional than a lot of people that I've connected with in life. Sometimes to a detriment where it has really just, it's all consuming and overwhelming at times. So I think perhaps rebel heart more so is a deeply feeling heart, because a lot of the world, we all have this ability to feel deeply and to connect with ourselves deeply, and we forget that. We're born on this earth whole and are authentically ourselves, and there's just a lot of like societal programming, familial programming, just a lot of external factors coming in, and we lose sight of ourselves. So to go against the grain, and that I'd say like the rebel heart, I suppose, is just the trying new things that a lot of other people that you see aren't doing. For instance, like starting my own business with massage therapy. I don't have any family members besides a very distant cousin who has his own I think it's like plumbing and electrical business. No one in my family or in my direct community started a business. So already I was like, I'm doing something different. I'm gonna go for it. And just, I mean, the alert, let me think, there was this, like jump and the net will appear kind of moments. I've had a lot of moments of that, especially through my 20s, of just deciding like, I'm just going to follow my heart, and it's not traditional and it's different, and how I want to live my life hasn't been what I've been taught and what has been ingrained in me. So kind of a little bit rebellious like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've also, and I'm trying to think, like rebel heart. I've done drugs, I suppose too.
That's so funny.
So doing things that aren't the most legal at times,
Yeah.
wanting to explore, knowing like, oh, there's like something out there, of like searching for something, like I want to search for that something, but it's not sold in stores. It's not regulated by the FDA. Like, okay, yeah. Yeah.
That's
I didn't know
funny.
if I wanted to bring that up, but when you first asked that question, Ronnie, I was like, yeah, drugs, that's a huge thing.
That's so funny.
Yeah, different medicines. It's a good time.
Yeah.
It's a healing time. Yeah.
No, I love the fact that it sounds like you're willing to take that risk and just see what's really to come. And it doesn't sound like you're too scared of the unknown, which I think is really, really amazing to hear, because most individuals, they'll put a whole wall in front of them before even trying to proceed. So, the fact that you could still say, you know what, I'm just going to try it out and see what happens and go with the flow. That's amazing to see. I love it. But Courtney, I'll pass it.
Yeah. Well, you say I'm not scared. I do
Doesn't seem like
identify
it.
as a scaredy cat a lot of the time.
Okay.
When the overthinking sets in, and when I am feeling more in my head and less in my body, that's when the fear comes up. And oof, no, thank you. Yes, it's important to feel that fear and step through it, and feel the fear and do it anyway, kind of a thing. But it's tricky, because even though I've had really beautiful experiences with business and in love and just life in general with my interests and passions, there has been a lot of fear there, and a boatload of anxiety and depression that have come up. And so thank you. Thank you for thinking that I'm not scared, because yeah, it's one of those fake it till you make it kind of things, because we are all human and we all feel fear, scared, the not enough feelings. It can be quite intense. So pushing through those times at your own pace is vital.
Yeah. Just understanding the skills that you have, everything that you have behind you just personally, but also within your support system, and knowing that all of that will be there if something does happen. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's something I definitely think Mama and Papa G, my parents, did right, was to just create this stable foundation to launch off of. Because I would not be here nearly as quickly if I didn't have that safe space coming from a loving household that felt loving and stable, and yeah, it was just a wonderful time growing up in Saugerties, New York. We had it really good. We were some of the lucky ones. So to come from that and to just have their support, maybe they didn't support me fully immediately right away when I wanted to start my business, or go to Europe for 2 months alone before starting my business, or move far away from them to begin with, and to be into all this weird hippie crunchy spiritual things that aren't so weird anymore, and that they're kind of on board with now. They weren't, not as like 100% gung-ho, at least that was my experience. But over time they understood this is just Courtney becoming Courtney. And so I'm grateful for for like the mutual respect that we have. So yeah, nonstop grateful for that. for that little family unit
I think
support.
I see that. Yeah, absolutely. I think I see that a lot when you talk the last couple things that you said. I think I see that a lot with my sister.
Carly.
So like that kind of same thing where it's like she's just her.
Yeah.
Like she just is herself, and like learning to understand. I know we've talked about this, and of course she's been a guest, but like just understanding her communication, and like it has helped tremendously with our communication, and like, wow, shocking, just understanding where she comes from, and how we grew up differently, and just like really getting to know like this is who they are and this is who they're going to be, and we have to learn to love and learn to communicate and things like that. But that is true support, right? And that is true love, is just understanding like, yeah, that's who they are, and it is a little bit different than me. And I think it's so funny because my mom has made a couple comments about just like, how did that happen? Like, I raised you, so how did that happen? It was like, I remember specifically like a word that I used. It was so funny because it was so simple, but it was a word that I used, and she was like, where'd you learn that word? And I was like, I don't know. I've just heard like people say it. It was like cupboard or something like that. And she was like, we never use that word. I was like, okay, well, I've learned new words since I've left the house. So just things like that, where it's like, where did you even get this? Where did you get this spirit? Where did you get this rebel heart? Where did you get this like interest for all these things that are different? Or Ronnie, we've talked about like leaving home, leaving your home state, leaving like, and we don't leave our home state. We leave. We go far. So many of us and so many of our guests have done that. And so like, where does that come from? That desire to explore and things like that. But that's really cool.
I talk about it with my Colorado friends. Well, your sister's example, she's a Colorado girly now as well. Yeah. And it's funny how like we are the people of our people's lives. We are like the one friend that moved to Colorado to like search for something new, find themselves, just like be immersed in a new city. And Denver's a poppin' place for people in their 20s. It's kind of like it's like a little landing pad post college or post gap year, post working, and just to run off to the mountains and whisk yourself away. It's fascinating. Yeah. Not just Colorado in general, but just because that's what I talk about immediately with my circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's so interesting.
I was just going to say,
go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to say, I love your focus on, and I feel like I've always known this, but your focus on environment and your focus on body and your focus on being present. And of course that's part of your work, or it is your work, but just that reminder, we talked about in one of our last episodes. I never know when these are going to come out, Ronnie, so I never know how to refer to our episodes, but one of our last episodes with Evan, we talked about the trauma response and getting back to your body, and like how, the connection between body and brain can be so, so important. And it seems like, obviously our bodies and our brains are connected. So if you're not super knowledgeable about that process, the trauma response, or how to reconnect, or how we become disconnected, it's kind of like, obviously they're connected. But within the work that you do, and just already some of the things that you've said, it just shows like being present, being mindful, using meditation, things like that. Even just your interests, like you mentioned, slowing down. How often in our society, in our day-to-day, do we slow down? I had a friend call me out the other day. I mentioned I was hoping that we were going to get to spend time together, and I just messaged him and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I haven't been feeling well. I just need to rest. And his response was, rest. She said rest. Like, he was so proud of me because he knows that's just not a part of my regimen is rest. So, clearly, and then this stuff happens.
Right, like it manifests in the body. And our bodies are so wise. Our bodies have so much information. And so that's why I love to say, to the physical and beyond, because beyond the physical as well, like our minds and our hearts, where our emotions come from, there's so much sageness to that we can just listen to. And something that I've learned in my own therapy work is the whisper. Sometimes our minds and our thoughts, our heads are so loud, and it's that productive go-getter vibe. And it's important to sit back, literally sit back, feel the back of your body, and push that loud voice to the side and just be like, okay, you're here. Okay, you're trying to run the show. You're a party animal. Okay, great, you're here. Love you. Okay, but like sit beside me, because the whisper that's underneath all of that, like that's where a lot of truth is. And that's a huge way. That's why I love getting massages and doing all this alternative type work with myself and others, is to tap into that whisper, because that whisper will give you a lot of info. It might not give you the exact answer, but that's the whisper that says, rest. Like, rest, you beautiful star. Come on. It's silly to keep pushing at how you've been pushing. Rest, like slow down. Stop. It's okay to just go full stop. Cancel your day if you need to. Like, yeah, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, we're not doing brain surgery here. So
right.
It's important to just like tap into that. And so great job, Courtney's whisper. Get the clap for that. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Interesting. I want to talk a little bit more about the whisper, because I feel like I've heard it before within myself, but I just don't know. So I don't know if either one of you guys, have you guys experienced, let's actually focus with Courtney, our guest, because I feel like, Courtney, you have at least heard or paid attention a little bit more to your whisper. So in certain scenarios, let's just say, things are chaotic for you. What is it that you're typically likely to do in those certain situations to, I guess, seek for the whisper?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because I look at it from my own lens. I don't have children. I live with a dog, but I'm not responsible for any living thing. I literally just have a snake plant in my room that I water once a month, because I can't be trusted with living objects right now in this season of life. But I'm able to get in solitude and get in silence and breathe. Very helpful to exercise. Sometimes I get some nice insights with the whisper when I'm moving my body and sweating and being active. Writing is huge, pen and paper, and just scribbling out thoughts. That's how I like to connect with the whisper. And in meditation, that's mostly how I connect with that whisper. And just being in meditation, even if it's for 10 minutes, it feels like the dust can settle, the outside noise can just be turned down a little bit, and you're kind of, it's almost like a I mean, this is before our time, but like radios, where you turn the dial. Yeah. And it's like even just 10 minutes of sitting alone in the quiet can just sharpen up that dial. And so messages can come through more clearly. Easier said than done, though, because it takes a lot of practice and a lot of time of looking inward. But man, oh man, like once you're able to just kind of just breathe and connect and just be with your thoughts instead of trying to stop your thoughts, there's a lot of goodness that can come through that.
Do you have anything that helps you particularly? Well, I mean, you kind of just mentioned some. So somebody like myself who has really, and I'll kind of turn it back to me, someone like myself who has trouble with sitting in silence for a very long time. I mean, my brain just runs, right? It's doing this constantly. So what advice or at least guidance would you give me? This is talking to me, nobody else. So if you're the same person, then great, listen up here. But what would you say for someone like myself that is constantly, your brain's just moving and moving and moving, and I want to be able to just sit, right, for a second?
Mm-hmm. Well, first I'd say congratulations, because your brain is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Your brain is built to think nonstop and to always be in touch with your inner world and the outer world and the objects around you. It's like the proprioception, we got the externalception, internalception, the whole thing. So hooray. Yes, this is so normal. because 100% of people on this earth experience that as well. So bravo for recognizing that. And it's the recognition. Yeah, oh, yes. It's the recognition of that. That is the first step. It's just the awareness of, ooh, hello thoughts. Okay, yes, I acknowledge you. All right, you're here. And then from there, just getting curious with yourself, like, okay, these thoughts are here. These thoughts are here. I wonder why these thoughts are here. Okay, all right, we can work with that. And just befriending your thoughts and emotions, just like how you would be friends with your roommate or best friend or partner, you got to befriend yourself too. So just to come back to yourself and yeah, I know it's really, it's so, it seems esoteric and like so out there, but it's just so real because this is real life in real time. All the thoughts don't stop. You know, you're having a reaction to what I'm saying. I'm having a reaction to what you're saying. Like my brain is going a mile a minute sitting here with you guys. And that's a beautiful thing because that's the aliveness. That's like all of our life forces interacting right now over camera. So recognizing and just being aware of that. Yep, 5 stars, wonderful. And I was going to say something else, but it fell out of my brain because I was thinking about how much I'm thinking right now. So I'm going to take a nice big breath. A little reset. Yep, and connecting to breath is major as well because that is free 99. You can breathe anywhere, anytime, any place, around anyone. Even if chaos is around you, you can still come back to your breath and feel your lungs, feel the energy come in to the body, feel the energy exit your body, and just feeling right here, right now. What is it like? And it's hard to do that without judging it, you know, because we are built to judge as well, but just to bring more gentleness to the judgment, you know, it's hard because like Buddhists talk about non-judgment, non-attachment. It is really hard to not judge and not attach to all the thoughts and the feelings that are coming up all the livelong day. Yeah,
absolutely. I did this just came up for me with a client, and I know I'm constantly talking about clients, but an example that I've heard, I don't remember where I've heard this before, but is to view yourself like as a mountain. You're a mountain, you're still, you're calm, and there's clouds that will fly by, move by. What do clouds do? I don't know. Anyway, they move by, right? You acknowledge the cloud. You know that it's there. You're not mad at the cloud for being there. It just exists. So you just kind of acknowledge it, and it slowly moves away. We're not trying to get rid of it. We're not pushing it away, right? It just moves at its own speed, and that's how we acknowledge our thoughts. That's how we acknowledge it when we're trying to do a mindfulness or meditation or journaling or I noticed it. I was in session with a client, and a thought popped into my head that was not session related. And I'm like, don't be thinking about your own stuff. We have to be present in these moments. So acknowledging like, oh, okay, clearly that's something I have to think about later, but not in this moment. So kind of acknowledge that cloud. Or I think we've all, even just as kids, had the experience of like laying in the grass and feeling the grass and looking up at the clouds. It's the same thing. They pass by on their own time. We acknowledge that they're there, but we're not. It's that non-judgmental piece of like, we're not mad at ourselves for having these thoughts. And that's what my client was experiencing. We were doing kind of like a mindfulness tool. We were doing Calm Place for anyone, or happy place, safe space, whatever people want to call it. I call it Calm Place. And he was trying to imagine his calm place. And he was like, all of a sudden a wall like came up in front of me. He's like, I don't know who put that wall there. And he took it as like, I can't do this. I'm doing it wrong. There's a wall in front of me. And my response was like, what does the wall look like? Explore the wall. Like, is it moving? Is it still? Can you walk around it? Like, he kind of took it as this block, like I'm never going to be able to get through it. And just explore those thoughts. Like, it's okay that these thoughts are there. Let's see, is there a door? Can we walk through the door and then get back to your calm place, right? Literally, because sometimes it's just, oh, I'm so busy. All of this stuff is coming up in my brain. And I've compared my brain. I tell my clients sometimes those like old bingo cages of like all the little bingo balls. I'm like, that's how my brain feels sometimes. It's just like all rolling around, and sometimes you just never know what's going to come out. But taking that time to calm down, acknowledge, just like Courtney said, acknowledge the thoughts, be okay that the thoughts are there, and then moving forward to try to get back to center, back to relaxing. I would love that for you, Roney.
Me too, Ronnie. I highly recommend a book for you, Ronnie, and for you too, Courtney. Oh my gosh, I have it right here. Hold on, let me get it.
She's gonna make you read, Courtney. She's gonna make you read.
I read, Ronnie.
I'm gonna read a dramatic excerpt.
I read.
Yeah. Okay, it's actually at my office. It's not here, but it's called Stress Less, Accomplish More by Emily Fletcher. And I read it in January of this year, so 2 months ago. And she is a gal who is a meditation teacher. And she teaches this technique called the Ziva technique, Ziva. And the framework of it is 15 minutes when you first wake up in the morning and 15 minutes in the afternoon. And the structure of the meditation is like an appetizer, dinner, dessert situation. So the appetizer is mindfulness. That's for about 2 minutes, and you connect with your senses. The dinner portion is the meditation or mantra part, where a mantra, I believe I think the definition is like mind vehicle. So it kind of just brings you back to a center focus point. So she says you can use the word one, or you can pick another word that resonates with you better in that day or moment, what have you. So that's for about 10 to 11 minutes. And then the last dessert portion of that 15-minute block is the manifesting part, where you just express gratitude to yourself of what you're grateful for here and now, and something that you want to achieve or something that you desire. And so you just end it with a smile, which is nice, where it's like, yay! You just end with like it's a really beautiful start to meditation. And I say meditation in air quotes because it's a different way of being. So I just highly recommend that book and that outline for you to start with, Ronnie, because I just checked this morning and I'm on day 60 of the 2-a-day meditations. So it's that 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon. And I love the name of the book, Stress Less, Accomplish More, because in the past 60 days, I truly have stressed less and accomplished more. Like, I'm more aware of what I put into my body. I'm more aware of driving in the car, and I'm more of like a defensive driver in the car. So I feel safer on the road. I feel more present with my clients. I feel way more energetic at the end of the day to be present with like my roommate and my friends and my partner. There's a lot of good stuff there. And it does bring up some stuff too, of just being in silence, alone for 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
It's really jarring and like it's scary, but then like on the other side of that, there's some really good feelings. So just hang in there with that like, ooh, that like internal angst, because that's a part of it. That's a part of the path of knowing yourself better and settling with yourself and making time for you, because you're worth it, Ronnie. Let me just tell you that right now. You're
Everybody
so worth
is. Everybody is. Not
and
just
yes, I speak for the trees. I speak for everybody.
Yes.
Because everyone is so worthy of having time to themselves. And like I said before, and you guys as well, like, I don't have kids. I don't have a family to manage and take care of. I'm only providing for myself and my future self right now. So it's tricky, bringing this up to, people with kids and people with really big responsibilities. Like, yeah. So a little tricky there. She goes into parenthood and like owning a big company and all these high achievers in the book. So it's fascinating. Because I know, Ronnie, your line of work, yeah, you got to be on your game all week long, all day long, and it's taxing. I'm just impressed that, and you too, Courtney. Oh my gosh, like a very high demanding job of caring for others. So holy moly, we're just like caring for others all week long in our own ways, and to just have this time and space to let the dust settle and just process life in real time. Yeah, we it's ours. It's, yeah, our time is ours, and it's beautiful to just really set that time aside for yourself.
Like you
And it
mentioned,
takes practice. Yeah.
befriend
Uh,
yourself. And I think,
befriend
sorry,
yourself.
I started to cut you
Hmm.
off, but I think that's exactly what I'm going to name this episode. Befriend yourself.
Befriend
Because
yourself. Befriend yourself.
there
I
goes the
want to do a
song
theme
now.
song.
Make sure to put that one in the beginning.
Oh, that's great. So, something that has really helped me just fully immerse, and sometimes it's very helpful to fully immerse, is to explore a retreat, or to even if it's a day-long retreat near you, or if it's an online organization doing something, highly recommend doing that, because that really just blocks out the world. You're not looking at screens, and it's just yeah, a really really special time to get to know yourself, as scary as it is. Like I said, there's a lot of goodness and a lot of magic in that time of
Yeah.
solitude. So I think everybody should just go on at least a retreat in their lives, whether it's like a meditation retreat, a yoga retreat, but something that's just holistic and alternative, and not only about building skills or making friends or doing something that is your main interest, like a climbing or hiking or boating, who enter a hobby here. I think it's great to just go on retreat that is very healing slash spiritually focused.
Never thought
Yeah,
about
highly
doing something
recommend.
like that. So it's definitely a thought that's lingering in my brain now. And I'm sure now I'm going to think about it more, more, and more. So thank you, Courtney.
I have all the recommendations for you as well. So happy to share more about just yeah, people you can follow and look into, because then that might lead you to something that resonates deeper with you too.
Mm. Court, you got
I
anything?
love it. I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into, I think I have the most understanding about massage therapy, not actually in terms of what you're doing, but more so, what it is in general. The other parts that you discuss, I've heard of them, but I don't actually know what they are. And I would love to know a little bit more about what they are, just kind of in general.
Yeah. So I mentioned Reiki,
Reiki.
and yes, Reiki. Reiki is a form of energy healing. So I call it, it's not so much a massage for your body, but it's a massage for your soul. So it kind of gets into different layers of what makes you you. Um, and straight up Reiki just helps you just remind you who you are, because it's kind of like that, like that 15 minutes of meditation that I shared, of that like unique style of it. It's kind of like that with a guide. So you're able to just breathe, feel, and breathe in a safe, comfortable, warm place of the massage table. You're under blankets, you're fully clothed. If it's a part of a massage session, you're typically not, but you're still, draped accordingly to make sure that you feel secure and safe and warm. All those warm and fuzzy feelings. But Reiki is a technique where I just gently lay my hands on different areas of your body, and during that time, you get to just notice and observe, just like the clouds on over the mountain. It's like that. It's just like a beautiful time to spend where you're receiving love, because Reiki translates to or just the goodness of Reiki is love. That's the core essence of it. So I just kind of, when I have my hands on someone's like at their head, I'm just sending them little heart emojis, smiley faces. I'm just like sending them just like hardcore like energy packets of love, and then their system can do whatever it needs to do with that energy that comes through. Yeah. So I love to incorporate that and interweave that with massage therapy sessions. Um, and people report feeling lighter. People feel more at ease, more connected to themselves. Um, usually, sometimes something gets figured out, maybe not right away live in the Reiki session, but in the days after, the Reiki or that universal love energy that's coming in, it still is like doing its job for like the next few days. And so usually if someone is having, if someone's in limbo with like their job or their relationship, or they're just needing an answer for something, that's what I mean by like the spiritual and ethereal healing that can kind of happen, because like there's wisdom that's coming forth from that. So it is just super rad. So big fan of Reiki, and it doesn't harm or hurt. It's just very supportive, very gentle, a very subtle technique. Um, so Reiki's not as well known as a technique called craniosacral. Have you guys ever heard of craniosacral therapy?
Nope.
Oh my gosh!
Man.
So I'm going to craniosacral school this summer, and it's a 2.5 year program. So I'm gonna be starting that this summer, and I'm so jazzed because a lot of people from the community have contacted me asking if I do craniosacral, and I say no, I do Reiki, but it's like craniosacral's cousin. It's very similar. But then they say, oh, no, I don't want Reiki. I want craniosacral.
Oh
So
wow.
I've had people reach out enough about that where I'm just like, let me see what the fuss is all about with this craniosacral shiz. Like, all right, let's get up all in that. And so I ended up receiving it myself for the first time recently, just a few months ago. And I even found like more relief from craniosacral than I have with Reiki. Reiki is super grounding and settling on the nervous system. And from my personal experience, it feels like the craniosacral, it's very similar, like hands on the body, but it's not like active massaging. I feel that like deep sense of relaxation like times five with craniosacral.
Whoa.
So y'all look up some craniosacral in your area too, because that's a trip without the drugs as well. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
That's so
so
cool.
yeah. And then I also mentioned that I'm trained as a birth and death doula. I work with a lot of pregnant people, so I just felt drawn to the birth community in general, just via my massage practice. And so I haven't taken any uh, birth doula clients on. I've only shadowed births and supported people in births by giving massage and Reiki. Um, but scheduling wise, it's a bit tricky for my life because you have to be on call as a birth doula because baby's going to come through in the world when the baby wants to come through. So the doula is there as a physical, emotional, spiritual support for the birthing person. And so same thing with the death doula work. So I'm highly interested in working with hospice one day. And I know that when I'm able to train with the craniosacral and learn more of those gentle, subtle, supportive techniques, that will help support people in the dying process as well, at any age. So it's really cool stuff. I have a lot of passions and hobbies, and it's a little overwhelming sometimes because I want to do so much so fast, so quickly, because I've been able to see like all the different categories and how much people would just need the support. And a lot of people just don't even know this support exists.
Yeah.
So I feel so grateful to live in this city where so much is available and so much is advertised for support that's available. But yeah, to feel it firsthand is yeah, it's a gift and a blessing. So I hope to go more into those fields in life, like especially if I ever have children one day. I'm certain that I'll be more inclined to do less massage work one-on-one and more birth work. Um, and yeah, and the death work with the death doula stuff, I feel like that's just an ongoing that's just ongoing because not everybody will experience birth in their lives, but no one gets out of this thing alive. So and so
Yeah.
that's another I mean, I could talk about birth, life, and death all day long. Yeah.
True.
What do you thought? What are your thoughts? That was a lot of talking from me.
Come at me.
No, I got a question
Yeah.
about the doula work. Are these at home, I guess, births that are happening, or are you in the hospital? Like, how does that work?
All settings. So a doula can work in
Oh,
a hospital, in home birth settings. There's birth centers that are kind of the best of both worlds between a hospital and a home birth, where there's not a lot of medical interventions. You can, of course, transfer out to a hospital if how things are going. Like, oh, need some more like Western medical support. Yes, very important. So, so birth centers do a great job at making the place feel so homey, dim lightings. There's not typically physicians, but there's midwives who are very highly specialized providers in maternal and prenatal, perinatal care, postpartum and whatnot. So any setting a doula can support. So when I did some shadowing, when I initially got trained, I reported to the person's home when they were laboring at home. The labor did last a couple days, so and as a
whoa.
student, yeah, it was pretty intense. So because the mom, her goal was to birth at the birth center, so it basically went from her home for a day as she was laboring. She went to the birth center where it was, that was the plan. But then she did end up transferring to the hospital because she needed more support. So I wasn't
Mhm.
able to go to the hospital because I was a student shadowing at that time. And it was the days of COVID, so you couldn't. There was only a
Oh,
limited amount of people there. Oh no, it was a whole, yeah,
oh.
that's a whole situation. Um, so really neat to see that process of like what a birth can look like for a family, because it can
So,
just you write up your birth plan, you have an agenda, and it can just go 180 opposite of what you intend. So
so
the
for a
doula is
person
there as that
that's
support. Yeah.
looking to become a doula or get into it, not first before we talk about the steps that you took to get into it, but for for I guess a birth that's taking multiple days, are you going home and coming back, or are you staying? Like, what happens there?
There's a lot of planning that goes into place. So uh let me think about this. There's a lot of logistics that need to be covered of
Yeah,
if this happens, we'll do this. If this happens, we'll do this. So it's a lot
gotcha.
of preparing for that. So so when I was a student shadowing, I was like the lowest guy on the totem pole. So I was basically like, if I'm allowed to step in and support, great, I'll be there. But I also totally respect the midwife and the nurse and the actual doula to do what they need to do. They are a well-oiled machine, and I'm just happy to be here. Like I'm just honored to be here for whatever I can experience and potentially support and shadow and view all the things. So there's typically a team of doulas that have each other's backs, that
That's fair. Okay,
especially when you're employed by a hospital or a birthing center. And even if you are just picking an independent doula, that doula typically has a backup doula, so if anything happens, like they can kind of tag team. So I'm certain with birth center there's like a 12-hour limit where like you will be with the person for like a 12-hour shift, I suppose is for lack of a better word, lack of a better word. Um, so you won't go past the 12 hours. And then after, so if they're laboring for 12 hours, around the 11-hour mark, the doula would reach out to the backup doula or another doula on the team and be like, hey, we're approaching hour 12. Like, I'm tired. I need a meal. I
Yeah.
need I need something. I need to go home and relieve the babysitter, or I need to go home and sleep. I need to go to my car and sleep. Yeah, so it's interesting. There's a whole yeah, well-oiled machine in the doula and
Gotcha.
birth work community for logistically making sure that like mom or birthing person are supported, like partner's good, family's good. Like it's a lot of just nice, gentle, loving, like, okay, got to make sure that everyone stays sharp on their game so they can fully show up and be there to support the family. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So for
It's
and someone
really
that
interesting.
is so for someone that's looking to get into that type of work, what would your recommendations be in terms of, or at least what steps did you take to get involved?
So I worked for a birth center locally in Denver doing prenatal massages, and just being in that atmosphere, that's what sparked my interest of, ooh, I want to learn what a birth doula is, and I want to be a birth doula one day. So let's just start it now so I get the training. So moms and other and pregnant people coming in just feel more at ease knowing that I do have the knowledge and training of of the doula world and just birth in general. So and it's something that I'm just deeply passionate about in general. So I was just like, yeah, all the trainings all the time, please just give it to me. So uh, through that birth center, I took their own doula training. And then from there, I wanted to learn more. So then I went to a nationally recognized doula organization called DONA. It's DONA. It's like the doula organization of North America, something like that. And they have trainings all across the US and North America. So you can train in person or online. Highly recommend in person because just bodies in the room, there's just nothing better. You can't really replace that. And then from there, I was able to connect with other people who were just like me, who were interested. Some people who were already in the birth field as PTs or nurses, and other massage therapists as well who are into that world. And there's other people who had no knowledge of anything birth before that training. So you don't have to be a person in the healing arts. You don't have to be a healthcare provider. You can just take the training. Um, and even with my death doula training, I took that online through an organization called INELDA, INELDA. Like, yeah, a little bit longer acronym there. So I forget what the title is specifically. That I took online, and even taking that, I realized like every high school in the world needs to offer this training because you learn a lot about how to be a heart with ears and just being compassionate with people and just really seeing people and honoring people for where they are in their journey, whether they're dying or not. It's a really profound training. So hey, recommend that too to you guys. Big fan of that kind of profound training as well. And it brings up a lot of your own stuff too. Oh my gosh, I could go on and on. I won't go too far deep into
I
it
can imagine
if we don't get on that topic, but man, oh man. Yeah, lots to share on that.
But I just find it all so interesting, and I feel like it's stuff that not everyone we know is involved in, right? How many people do we know who are trained in these things? And I just always find it so interesting. I am also interested or curious, knowing like a little bit of our education at Saugerties and kind of the way Springfield worked, or like a lot of the more popular, I guess, majors or programs that they had. I don't remember. Were you in AT?
Yep, athletic training.
Or PT?
Yep.
It was,
yeah,
okay,
athletic
AT,
training is
yeah.
where I started. Yeah.
So that's kind of my question is how did that happen? First of all, is how I'm gonna say it. But when did you first become interested? I mean, the idea of like massage therapy, being in such a small town, this idea of like, I mean, we are a little bit like right next to Woodstock. We are a little, I would literally say Woodstocky,
but yeah,
is how I would identify.
quite
We are a
Woodstocky.
little Woodstocky, and yeah. So there is that idea, like you mentioned, like hippie tendencies and things like that a little bit in Socrates, but still not necessarily, not, I think when we were in high school, not that emphasis on self,
Totally.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So when did that come up for you? How did that start?
Well, so athletic training is a field where an athletic trainer is considered a healthcare provider for active people. So primarily the education was at Springfield College was supporting athletes. So we worked with different sports teams. There's different facets of athletic training. So you, as an athletic trainer, you prevent injuries, you assess and diagnose, you treat and rehabilitate, and you other stuff involved, but that's what I remember off the top of my head. It's been a while. So in that setting, the classes that I loved the most was the classes when I learned how to tape. So like taping ankles and wrists and doing hip wraps and shoulder wraps and all that. So makes sense because I love working with my hands and being hands-on. And the class where we learned how to massage, that was literally like a week long curriculum. And that was in like the rehabilitation and the therapeutic, more slow work. You do emergency response. That's another facet of athletic training, was just responding to the call. So if you're working a football game, athlete goes down, ATs are running out there in their khakis and polos and their hip packs and their shoulder packs of all their little emergencies. Oh yeah, it was quite the look. Yeah,
khakis and polos just like hit me so hard.
I know, you had to get all that with
that was such a Springfield College. Yes, khakis and polos. Oh, if you showed up without a collared shirt on, oh my gosh, go home and like change. You failed that class. Go home. Yeah. You don't even exist if you're not wearing a collared shirt. Anyway, sorry, that just like
I know
hit my
it's
memory
visceral,
so hard.
right? Like it deep in your bones. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Glad I never have to wear khakis and polos ever again if I don't want to, which I do not. Yes. Okay. We'll leave that there. So with the athletic training, I liked sports because that was a lot of what we grew up with in Socrates. It's all sports, and that's all I was really exposed. That's what I was exposed to.
Yeah.
So I thought I loved sports. I realized working with sports teams, I even worked with the Springfield College girls volleyball. I worked football. I worked men's lacrosse. Volunteered at wrestling tournaments and marathons, like all the different things. I kind of had an aha moment through college. Like, I don't really love sports with my whole heart. Like, there's something more for me. I don't really want to be I don't want to be filling up Gatorades, and I just didn't resonate with me fully. And then I realized later on in the education, like junior or senior year, my favorite part about athletic training was when I was in the rehab room, doing manual soft tissue work, and them saying, "Oh, that feels so good. That's what a relief." Like, "Oh, I feel so much more relaxed now. Thank you." So I was like, "Oh, maybe athletic training's not most aligned for me." Brilliant athletic trainers out there, and I'm still friends with them to this day. But man, oh man, I was like, "Yeah, I need something a little bit more warm and fuzzy, something a little bit more soft." I was also thinking about this, reflecting on this conversation that we were going to have today, and just thinking about you, Courtney, and like our connection through high school and college, and my own mental health struggles through that time. And I realized like I didn't really feel in my adult body until I was like 27, because I was so ridden with hardcore anxiety and depression for a lot of my time through like high school and college, that I was like, I need a career that's going to meet me. And so I'm glad that I just found massage therapy because of like the physicality of it. And I loved, getting my hands on people and making a difference in their tissue right away. Fellow millennials, we love instant gratification, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So I love that like immediate relief that people get from that kind of work. And to manage my own anxiety and stress, I loved receiving massages too. There was a massage therapist that came to Springfield once every couple months, and sometimes I was the only person on her schedule. Her name's Erica. Shout out. Oh my God, I miss her so much. But she was a big influencer to me to move into massage therapy because I just felt right at home on the massage table. So and I thought, it's always been a thought, massage. I was like, it's not a real job. Like, I couldn't make a living with it. So I need to, go to college, do the steps, do what society tells me to do, get my bachelor's, get a job from there. And that's not what happened. Right. It was senior year of college. That was like a little scaredy cat moment where I was like, I want to do something different. I actually don't want to be an athletic trainer. Like, I'm gonna move to Colorado and be a massage therapist, or go to massage therapy school. And so that's what I did. Interesting to mention, though, because you know this about me, Courtney, that I was previously engaged and to my high school sweetheart. And
I
know. So we dated all through college, and we were broken up the fall of my senior year at Springfield. That's when I decided to move to Colorado and become a massage therapist. So it was interesting because it was like my heart was so firm and so certain of just like, I want to move this way with my life. And then, of course, you go home for Christmas, and then you take a walk to the lighthouse, and then you make out.
I was going to say the lighthouse.
You go to the lighthouse, and you reconnect, and you catch up, and you make out, and then you think, oh, this is, this is actually what I really want. And so we weren't engaged at that point. We were just dating. But I was like, oh, yeah, so you know what? I'm going to have it all. I'm going to go to Colorado for only a year. I'm going to go to school, and then I'm just going to get my massage license in all of the states that we're going to live in, because he was a military guy and I was just going to be a Navy wife and do my thing and follow him around and put my needs to the side and just focus on that, because that's what I thought I really wanted. And it's like I didn't want to let Socrates down also, where it was like it felt like okay, humble brag. We were prom king and queen. It was so much fun. That was a great moment. That felt so good for the ego. So good for the ego. Loved it. Was all over it.
Class couple.
Get the whole song and dance. Like, captain of the football team, captain of the volleyball. Like, we were like we were living. The small town USA dream, people.
Yes.
Literally. It was hot. It was great. It was great for like the image that I wanted, but then realizing, like, moving to Colorado and being in massage school, I was like, oh, these are my people. Oh, my anxiety's going down. Oh, and that's when like the curiosity kicked in of like, okay, things need to change, but I'm also not going to change them until there's a clear sign that things need to change. And then we ended up getting engaged, and oh my God, that's a whole saga. But we ended up splitting up 3 months before our wedding. It was quite the time. So yeah,
I didn't know that detail.
Oh yes. Lots more. Yeah.
We'll say that for offline or part 2.
You're like after episode. Yeah. No, that's I love that you brought that up, though, because I see so much. I just think, of course, working with teens, I think there's so much pressure on like the whole idea, and I'm sure I've said this exact thing on this podcast, where it's like the idea of figuring out what you want before you're 18 is absolutely insane.
It's atrocious.
Like,
who let us do that?
There's just no way.
Yeah.
And it's just like the growth, I don't know, just the amount of growth that happens in your 20s. And I just turned 29. I'm still in my 20s, but like just being able to see that growth. And I had a conversation recently with a couple of my friends who are 27, 28, 29 about how just like excited we are for 30 because of all of the growth that happened in our 20s. And like, I can't, like, the thinking that was supposed to happen when you're 14, 15, 16, right? You think you're like, high school is supposed to be where you find yourself. It's like, no, it's not. High school is supposed to be a mess. Like, just allow it to be a mess, you know, and just know that that's kind of what happens, and that's okay. And play 3 sports because you have extra time that you're never going to have again, and all these different things. And but I appreciate that you said that. And also, I know this is a little bit off topic, but I just think it's important. I've also had the conversation because I do see it's so funny. I think I was talking to my mom about this too, how like people do get engaged at like 22, 23.
Child bride,
like, you
baby.
Gotta do it. I said it to my mom. I was like, everyone has to do it. You got to do it at least once. Just get engaged by accident in your like early 20s. Like, you know, don't get married, and then you figure it out after that.
It's a practice.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, it's a practice engagement.
Practice.
And I did, and I of course we make jokes out of it because it is something that we experienced, but it's just so interesting because it was the same thing. I was engaged when I moved out to Arizona.
I remember.
And my plan for what that looked like and what it was going to look like for me and why we made the move, and he followed me out here, and like why we made the move, and again, what life looked like versus when it didn't work out and when he left, was that finally, like you said, like feeling in my body for the first time. It's like, and I don't think it was Saugerties. I think it's a small town thing. I think it's just a growing up thing. I think it's a high school thing. It was just like, you have to fit a mold when you're in high school.
Yes.
There's this experience of like, I have to be this way. And I think a lot of parents do that too, not on purpose, but just people have expectations. And like, I had to be an athlete. I had to be one of the best athletes. And in Saugerties, we were.
That was your status.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, so that's what we just were, but because there's this many people. But so yeah, you had to be this. We're, you know, straight A students, 3 sport athletes, whatever it is. And then you get to who you can be and learning more about, I thought I didn't want to do the health education curriculum at Springfield. I thought I would hate it. And then I got into health and learning more about the stuff that I thought was icky at first. The thought of doing human growth and development, aka puberty, in high school, I was like, ugh, like you're kidding me. And then I started actually talking to kids about it, and I was like, this is so fun. Like grossing kids out, but to a point where they're actually learning something, and they're like, okay, like I'm way too grossed out to talk about this with my parents, but like she seems pretty cool, so I guess I'll ask her questions about it. I love that, like being able to give them the knowledge and make them feel comfortable enough to have these conversations that are icky or, you know, whatever it is. 7th graders are too cool for everything. So,
well, because you're just so,
but
Courtney, you're just so approachable.
Yeah.
I can just see.
I mean, I tried, but
well, I can just see you shine with adolescents because you. I mean, we all of us right here. We help all the teenagers. Yeah. But I could just totally see like the special bond that you have with that age group, even just from here with not being with you in person. So right on, girl. Yeah.
Well, it's just that passion. And I think like I always say, I know how I was at your age. And like, I might not have had the same upbringing. I might not have made the same decisions, but I know how I was, and I know I was a mess. And now I know why. I'm grateful and I'm lucky enough to know why I was the way that I was. And like I said, in my 20s, make those changes, you know, and the growth that I needed at the time. And, but yeah, it's just the reason I bring up the engagement and the reason I bring up things like that is just, I just feel like there's some things that it is big and it is important, but it's like, we just experience these things. And I was telling a client the other day, the worst things that have ever happened to me, if those things didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be a therapist. I wouldn't be in Arizona. I would not play rugby. I doubt if I didn't move to Arizona, I would have never found rugby. Like all these, when I think about the absolute worst moments in my life, they are the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing now. So, and not everyone has to feel that way, but it's just so interesting to think about those memories and those times in our lives and where it led us and how it led us and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's funny that you share that story. And it's funny that just because we grew up in the same town and went to the same college doesn't mean our stories have to be so similar.
But
It's
here we are.
interesting
Yeah.
that they are. Yeah.
So Ronnie,
maybe the name has something
Yeah.
to do with it.
oh,
I don't
what's
know.
in a name? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Ronnie, any practice engagements for you in
Oh no.
your time?
Oh no.
That's wonderful.
No
That's wonderful
practicing.
news
It's
to hear.
a big pause there.
Oh, a
Congratulations.
beautiful sacred pause with love. We need the more pauses. We
Yeah.
need more pauses. Like all of these timeline things, all these check mark
Yep.
things, they're overrated. But you said it yourself though, Court.
Yes.
Like all those things, all those times led you to who you are now. They've shaped you, they've molded you, and that's what a beautiful thing. So to all and to just like take a pause, like take a nice sacred pause in life and not have to always be working for the next thing, the next goal, the next checkbox moment. Like that's more real than anything. So both of you are just so real. I just love you guys. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. It's just so lovely to connect in this way and talk
Mhm.
about our traumas.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Good stuff.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew I was interested in hearing more about what you do and kind of how that happened. Like I said, just going from the program and things like that. And I think a lot of people have pivots in their life. I think that's great. It just shows that we've gained more information about different things and where our passions go. I think that's so cool.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah. But and I think another thing and we don't have to get into this too much, but I appreciate you mentioning anxiety and depression.
Oh, the Great
And
Depression.
things
Yes.
like that. Yes. But I appreciate you mentioning that, and not to act like, I know all of this about you or whatever it is, but I do just want to say that Courtney was somebody who in high school, in college, like appeared. I'm just gonna say what you appeared.
The image thing. We love the image.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. Because popular, athletic, like intelligent, like good academic, you would think, good academically, good athletically, like has it all together. And really, really that spirit that I mentioned earlier always had a smile on her face, very energetic. Like, it's funny, I didn't expect you to change, but as soon as you signed on, I'm like, okay, yeah, just your spirit, your energy, all of that. And it's always been that way for as long as I've known you. So the reason I bring that up is because it's so important to, and people say this all the time on social media and whatnot, but to check in on your friends and to have these conversations and really get to know people, because that person that, and if we think about Socrates, we think about the people in our friend groups, it's like there's really only a couple people you can say that about, who really always had that spirit and who always had that like upbeat personality. And not that, that's a problem. Like some people just, I'm a little bit more internal. I don't do the whole like, woo, yay, but still being able to say, like, I had a lot of anxiety at that time. I had a lot of depression. I had a lot of self-esteem issues. I had a lot of, whatever it was. It just goes to show, like, those people that you see and you think, I mean, anytime you hear something, unfortunately, with like mental health issues, suicide, it's like they lit up a room. They were always happy, right? People always say something like that. And it's like, you really just need to have those conversations. You need to be able to, and I'm not saying call every single one of your friends, are you depressed? Are you, are you suicidal? Like, I'm not that, but just really checking in and being able to say, like, we check in. How are you? How's your heart? Right? Really tell me. And I'm open for it. I'm here for it. Of course, I'm a freaking therapist, so of course I'm here for it. But like, just being present with your friends, being able to have those conversations and check in and just really have true, authentic moments where people can share, and that's okay. And I want there to be, I could go on a whole spiel about how I wish there was more professionals. I think we had a social worker, but our counselors weren't, counselors aren't social workers. Counselors aren't therapists. So just really having more professionals in schools, but still just being able to have conversations with friends. And I think teens are doing better at that nowadays. They're a lot more aware about mental health, and self-care and all those things nowadays. But yeah.
Well, that's just bringing the realness forward, where it's like this image, this facade that we put on is usually not genuinely connected to our most authentic selves. So, and it's interesting how you say, like, I haven't changed. Like, I've changed so much, and I've just become more
Yeah.
myself now, because there were glimmers and shimmers of that, like through high school, that you've seen, and at Springfield, and like, I have always been me, but there has been so much dark cloud cover that I never let people in to see, because like because I didn't accept those parts of myself. And so just to bring in the realness and the genuine humanness, like being a human is messy as
Yeah.
hell. It's not all together. It is just a
Yeah.
mishmash minestrone soup of just like, woo, there's just a lot going on all the time. All of the things all the
Yeah.
time. So, and that's what I want to do with my work, and that's what I strive to do with my work every day, is to just uncover where you've been covered up, and to
Yep.
bring yourself forward gently with love and compassion, and to restore your spirit, because that's you. We are just this body. We're just walking around in our meat sacks and skin suits here, but that's like, our bodies aren't us. There's so much more about us that's deeper, that is unseen, that you can't see with your eyes. It just comes back to the feeling. So to embrace the feeling nature of your true essence, like, that's you. And I see that both in I see that with you both. And like, I feel your energy over the camera, and it's precious, and it's just darling. And I just appreciate you guys showing up and doing this. What you guys are doing is really important and meaningful. So just want to give a 2 clap for that.
Hey, how you like that?
No dexterity checks or any of those.
No, Ronnie, that's
whatever we had.
Oh my gosh, yes, Ronnie. So we attended a college that had a lot of cheers and chants, and it was a wild thing.
It was a little bit culty, but we don't have to.
They're guilty, but we love them, and they're doing great. Springfield College is doing great. Love them. Thankful for them, and thankful to be where we are now in our lives as well.
Absolutely.
Grateful that has been a part of our journeys, and so grateful to be here now, entering our adult bodies. Really.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for anyone that is listening, or just wants to get in touch with you, Courtney, what's the best way for them to do so? Whether it's socials, or do you have not phone number? Please don't distill close that.
Oh golly. recentertherapeuticmassage.com is the best place to reach me. Yeah. All my information is on there. I am on Instagram at recenterdenver. But just head to my website. My website's way cooler. Just because I barely post, and that is intentional, because it's a part of that, sitting back and just receiving life more, instead of always being out there. I'm still active, and I post stories every now and again, but I'm not there on a daily basis. But you can reach me by email anytime, and my information's on my website.
I'll make sure to leave that in the description below for anyone that didn't catch all that, or just having a hard time. But with all that being said, thank you, Courtney, for joining us today, and giving us graciously your time to be able to share your experiences, your thoughts, and just everything that you've been through. So one thing I would definitely say is, I'm definitely for sure going to befriend myself more often, and I'm going to remind myself, and those are going to be those words I'm constantly going to be thinking on, how to get more still with everything. So I hope everyone that's listened to this took something away, because if you didn't, shame on you, because I did. But with all that being said, till next time, keep on applying those perspectives, education, growth, and collaboration.
Thanks, y'all.